It is chunky time, my friends. Whip out 2 of your 20-meter chunky thread balls because today we're making your fave new round rug. Unravel one of your chunky balls like you just dropped a box of hot ramen noodles and find an end point. This is your tail, okay? I'm gonna call the rest of your chunky thread running yarn. Okay, now grab about half a meter of tail and flip that tail on top of itself to make a loop. Reach your hand through that loop, grab that running yarn, and pull the running yarn through. Now, nobody likes a sloppy chunky thread, so pull the tail and the running yarn to keep your loop tight like a tiger. Yes, you just made a slip knot. Repeat those same steps starting with this new loop. So reach your hand in and pull the running yarn from behind your loop through the loop to create a new loop. Keep your loop nice and snug on your wrist and repeat. Loop doggy dog. This is how we create a chain. Now keep this up until this chain of yours has 9 hills. These sweet little bumps here, yeah, those are the hills. When you have 9 hills, place your chain and your running yarn parallel to each other on your surface. Check yourself, your last loop should be here, which makes your second hill here. What you're gonna do now is pull the running yarn through the second hill from underneath to create a new loop. Just repeat that with each of your hills. So keep it up, pull the running yarn through from underneath. And I don't want to see no wonky, sloppy loops, okay? Keep them the same size. When you reach your last little Beverly Hill and you pull the running yarn through, you'll have 9 of these loops. Ta-da! This is your first row. Now you're gonna want to connect your circle by looping the running yarn through that first loop. Now pay attention, chunky friend. This is the start of your second row. Keep looping your running yarn through each assisting loop, moving counterclockwise. Stop when you finished your second row of loops, take a little breather, say a little prayer, and then get back on this chunky rug train. Okay, before we move on to a third row, let's get rid of this ugly hole in the middle. Use your tail for this, hands off your running yarn. See those hills around the center of your rug? Grab your tail and lace it through each of those hills by pulling the hill up, pushing the tail underneath, and pulling the tail tight toward the middle. Trust yourself, you got this. Keep pulling that tail tight as you move along. Don't be afraid to give it a good tug now. Do this until your circle closes up. Look at you go. Got extra tail? Just flip your rug over, secure, and hide that tail underneath. Flip your rug back over when you're ready to keep going. We've got 2 rows now, right? You can tell where you last left off by where your running yarn is. Start your third row by pulling that running yarn through your last loop to create a new loop. But you know this. Before you keep going though, grab your ribbon and tie it around your new loop to identify this new row. That way you won't lose track. Now keep using your running yarn to make new loops. Don't forget to keep things consistent with your loop size and make sure there's not too much slack with your yarn in these spaces between your loops. I don't want to see none of y'all crying in the comments about your rug looking like Charlotte's Web, so keep it clean, okay? Stop when your third row is complete. Is that third row done yet? Okay, you guessed it, it's time to make your fourth row. Move your marker to a new loop and keep making those new loops around your rug. Stop when you've finished your fourth row. Alright, now let's expand this bad boy. To expand your rod, go around the rod, making new loops in the spaces between your existing loops. Remember, move counterclockwise, pull the running yarn from underneath and through these spaces. Once you reach your marker and have created loops in all the in-between spaces, you should have 18 loops. On to row number 5, baby. Create new loops in all 18 existing loops. Move that marker and keep the loop making rolling. Are you done with your 5th row? You may notice you're beginning to run out of running yarn. That's cool, don't sweat it. You just need to add your next chunky thread. Find the ends of your chunky. See that stuffing inside? Push it down so your ends look like a you know what. Tie it together with a double knot and forget this ever happened. We'll hide this hideous knot, so don't even think about it for another second. Okay? Back to it. Expand your rod with another row, moving counterclockwise around the rod. Pulling the running yarn through each of your 18 loops from underneath, you know the drill. Keep those loops and spacings in between tight. To finish off your rod, the length of your running yarn needs to be about 5 times the size of your rod. At this point, you probably have enough running yarn left for at least one more row, but every rod is different. So measure out what's left of your running yarn and either pause here to add one more row to your rod or stay with me and see how to close off now. First, make a new loop like normal. Then grab that loop in the existing loop to the left, grab your running yarn, pull that running yarn from right to left through the 2 loops to create 1 loop. Then pull the running yarn through that new loop once more to create 1 new loop. Now grab that new loop and the existing loop to the right. Pull the running yarn from right to left through the 2 loops to create 1 loop, then again pull the running yarn through your new loop once more. Repeat this all the way around the rod, starting with your 1 new loop, grabbing the next loop over, pulling the running yarn through the 2 loops to create 1 loop, then through the 1 loop once more. It's this easy, folks. Grab the two, pull through once, pull through again. You got this. Yep, now do a little dance, make a little love. You're making a rug tonight. When you reach the end and there's no more existing loops, loop your running yarn through one more time to create your last loop and to cover up that empty space. Then pull the last bit of your running yarn all the way through your last little loop. Tuck the running yarn into your first loop to connect your chain together and secure the running yarn by flipping your rug over and tying a knot. If you've got extra yarn flopping around, cut that sucker off with scissors or hide it by lacing it through the stitches and threads on the back side of your rug. And remember, you can throw this chunky in your washing machine and use the yarn over and over and over again. Ain't she cute? Now, go find that rug its rightful place or hand it over to your furry friend. Then tag the heck out of us on socials. And that's how you take the yawn out of yarn.